For the annealing, when you want to soften your metal, you're going to need a blowtorch. Now, proper jeweller studios have proper jeweller's torches, which normally are 1 or 2 huge cans of gas with a hose attached and then the nozzle. And those huge cans of gas take up a lot of room. They normally have to be placed on the floor underneath the workbench. So it's really popular when people are making at home or starting out to use these little cook's torches. So tiny little blow torches, which you need to fill with gas, such as this, that you can get at the tobacconist stand at the supermarket, into the little recess at the bottom. Now, I don't tend to use these torches. I've got a couple of them, but I absolutely hate them, partly because I find it really difficult to fill them enough, and partly because they're fine when you're doing sort of little small scale things, but they really do struggle if you want to do anything that's a little bit bigger or chunkier. I much prefer this torch. So it's a Go System butane propane mix gas torch. It's a plumber's torch. The reason I really like these ones is because the cans are self-sealing. So you buy the can of gas when you need a new can, and you buy a nozzle that you'd like to use for it. But the nozzles are reusable. They last for, pretty much forever if you look after them. And the cans last for absolutely ages as well, and they're quite cheap. But the reason I really, really like them is because when you take the nozzle off, the can is self-sealing. So therefore, you don't have to worry about them getting knocked and gas leaks. Or with the big jeweller's torches, you've really got to maintain the hoses and check all the attachments. These are much easier and safer to look after, I think. The downside with them, same as with most of the little ones, is that you don't get a huge amount of flame control in terms of the size. And also with these ones in particular, when you first turn them on, you can't tip them at a sharp angle or they get a bit spluttery. But the other reason I like them is this is the cheapest nozzle that you can get from it. It's called a Fine Tech Flame, but we'll go into this in more detail later. I use this for 99% of the stuff that I do. But if you ever do need to do anything a bit more specialist or need more heat or a different size flame, you can get different size nozzles for them. So it gives you quite a range of options. But like I say, the Go System can and the Fine Tech Flame nozzle are what I would recommend. Because it's the live flame rather than sort of the dry heat of a soldering iron or a radiator, we need a proper surface to put our work on when we're heating it. So this is a soldering brick, a jeweller's soldering brick, just a bog standard one. I would definitely recommend getting one of these. It's so important that you don't use a regular household brick or a breeze block. Regular bricks have pockets of air in them, and if you go near something that has pockets of air in it with some extreme heat, that air is going to expand, and the expansion is probably going to cause that brick to explode or crack. These are heat proof, so that means that it's very compressed. There's no air in there that's going to explode and crack or do anything untoward. But heat proof doesn't mean that it doesn't get hot. This is going to get really hot when you're using it. Because of that, this little brick has to also go onto something. So I've got a kiln shelf here. A lot of people use like the soldering mats, or the plumbers soldering pads that they put behind pipes. Or what I really like, what we've got at the folk house where I teach, is a raised baking tray. So like a cooling rack if you've been baking, just something so that the heat from this can dissipate away and not damage your table space. This is where someone decided to point the blowtorch at the my Lazy Susan. And again, you don't need one of these, but a Lazy Susan further down the line when we're doing soldering is really, really useful. So if you see one in the charity shop, it might be worth grabbing it. The other things you're going to need are eye protection, and a brass suede shoe brush would be really good to have. Lastly, you don't necessarily need these this month, but you definitely will need them once we start soldering. These are heat insulated cross action tweezers. So the heat insulation means that when you hold them, your fingers aren't going to get hot. because they've got these little bits of wood on there. The cross action means that you have to squeeze them for them to open, and then just gently hold them for them to grip. So they're brilliant when you're sort of doing little fiddly things and soldering stuff, because in theory you can grip onto it and they will hold it on your behalf. Now if you don't want to get a pair of these yet, we can use any old tweezers to pick up the metal and cool it this month. But like I say, further on in the line, these are very, very good to have. And again, you can get these online, you can get them from, they'll be on the Kernowcraft tools list. Cross action insulated tweezers. Here you go. So here's the little domes that I did a moment ago, and I've popped them on a pair of ear wires. So if you want to see how I make the little pairs of ear wires, you can go back to #MakeItMonth1 and you'll find the ear wire tutorial there. And then next up in Make It Month 3 this month, we're going to be doing some more forming. So I'm going to show you how to make wrapped rings like these ones, as well as some other bits and bobs. But I also just wanted to show you these for a little minute. So these are also made up of domes, same as little ear wires, but they've been soldered onto ring bands. So from next month, when we start doing soldering, these are the sort of things that we can work towards, using the techniques we've done already, such as texturing and doming and forming ring bands. But to be able to do the soldering, you're going to need to have the soldering block. To be able to do the soldering next month, you're going to need to have the soldering block, you're going to need to have the torch. So I would recommend, if you don't already have one, getting one this month so that we can anneal our metal and get used to using it. And you're going to need to have the cross-action tweezers. And obviously don't forget things like eye protection, but you can get some goggles quite cheaply from any local DIY shop or pound store, places like that. But have a go at doming if you can. See how you get on.